Welcome to Chapter 0. The Alchemist. Paulo Coelho, 1988. Complete comprehensive summary of The Alchemist. Prologue. The Alchemist reads the story of Narcissus. The Alchemist picks up a book brought by someone in the caravan. The book tells the traditional story of Narcissus, the youth who knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that, one morning, he fell into the lake and drowned. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the Narcissus. But the Alchemist's book tells a different ending. When Narcissus died, the goddesses of the forest appeared and found the lake, which had been fresh water, transformed into a lake of salty tears. They asked the lake why it wept. The lake said, "I weep for Narcissus." The goddesses said, "We do not wonder that you weep for Narcissus. He was beautiful." The lake asked, "Was Narcissus beautiful?" The goddesses were surprised. "Who better than you would know that?" The lake replied, "I did not know Narcissus was beautiful. I weep because, each time he knelt beside my banks, I could see, in the depths of his eyes, my own beauty reflected." The Alchemist thinks, what a lovely story. Part 1, Andalusia, the Shepherd, the Dream, the King of Salem. Santiago is a shepherd boy. He is 16 years old, though sometimes he feels older and sometimes younger. His parents were farmers in a small village in Andalusia. They worked hard all their lives so that their only son could have a better future. They sent him to a seminary to study to become a priest. For a poor family, having a son who was a priest was a source of pride. Priests were saved, they traveled, they read books, and they were respected. Santiago studied Latin, Spanish, and theology until he was 16. He learned to read and write, and he learned about the saints. But in his heart, since he could remember, he had wanted to know the world. He wanted to know the cities, the castles, the women with different colored eyes and hair. One afternoon, he found the courage to tell his father he did not want to be a priest. He wanted to travel. His father said he understood. He had once wanted to travel too, but he had to work to feed his family. He said that among all people in the world, only shepherds traveled. And they are the only ones who are happy, he added. Then he gave Santiago 3 old Spanish gold coins he had found in a field. "Buy yourself a flock," his father said, "and go see the world until you learn that our castle is the most important in the world, and our women are the most beautiful." Santiago bought 60 sheep. He named them, learned their ways, and traveled the pastures of Andalusia. He loved his sheep, but he loved his freedom more. He also loved books. He carried one book with him always, and when he finished it, he exchanged it for a thicker one in the next town. He dreamed of one day having a book that he would never finish, a book that would be his companion forever. He had one other dream. In the town he visited once a year to sell wool, there was a merchant who had a daughter. The merchant trusted Santiago and let his daughter talk to him. Santiago thought she was beautiful. He imagined marrying her, buying a shop, and settling down. The thought gave him both peace and anxiety. One night, Santiago and his flock slept in a ruined church. The roof had collapsed long ago, and a sycamore tree had grown in the sacristy where the altar once stood. That night he had a dream, the same dream he had had 1 year before in the same place. In the dream, a child appeared. The child played with his sheep and then took Santiago by both hands and transported him to the Egyptian pyramids. The child said, "If you come here, you will find a hidden treasure." Just as the child was about to show him the exact location, Santiago woke up. The dream bothered him. He decided to go to the town of Tarifa, where there was a gypsy woman who interpreted dreams. The gypsy's house was dark and smelled of herbs. She took his hands and closed her eyes. She said that all dreams are in the language of the world, and that this dream was simple to interpret. He must go to the pyramids of Egypt. There he would find a treasure that would make him rich. She asked for 1/10 of the treasure when he found it. Santiago left laughing. He thought she was crazy. In Tarifa's plaza, he sat to read his book. An old man sat beside him. The old man was dressed like an Arab, but he spoke Spanish. He said he was Melchizedek, king of Salem. Santiago had never heard of Salem. The old man began to talk about the book Santiago was reading, and then he wrote in the sand the names of people only Santiago knew, the name of his seminary, the name of the merchant's daughter. Melchizedek said he appeared to people who were about to give up on their personal legend. He explained that a personal legend is what a person has always wanted to accomplish. Everyone knows what their personal legend is when they are young. At that point, everything is clear and everything is possible. They are not afraid to dream. But as time passes, a mysterious force convinces them it will be impossible. That force is actually a positive force. It prepares the spirit and the will. It teaches the language of the world. Melchizedek said the world's greatest lie is that we lose control of our lives at some point and are controlled by fate. He said, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. He asked for 1/10 of Santiago's flock as payment. Santiago gave him 6 sheep. Melchizedek then gave him 2 stones from his gold breastplate, Urim and Thummim. Urim was black and meant yes. Thummim was white and meant no. They were to help Santiago read omens when he was in doubt. Melchizedek's final advice: never forget that everything you deal with is one thing only. And don't forget the language of omens. And, above all, don't forget to follow your personal legend to its end. Then he vanished into the crowd. Santiago sold his remaining 54 sheep to his friend the merchant. With the money, he bought a ticket on a ship to Africa. He was alone, with no sheep, no past, only a future. He was afraid, but he was also free. Part 2, Tangier, the thief, the crystal merchant, the fear of realizing a dream. Santiago arrived in Tangier, Morocco. The city assaulted his senses. The language was Arabic. The calls to prayer echoed. The streets were a maze. In a bar, he met a young man his age who spoke Spanish. The young man said he could guide Santiago across the Sahara to the pyramids. Santiago, desperate for a friend, showed him all his money so the young man could buy camels. The young man told him to wait in the plaza. Santiago waited all day. The young man never came back. Santiago had been robbed of everything. He sat in the market, humiliated. He thought of returning to Spain. He took out Urim and Thummim and asked if he should see this as an omen to go back. He drew Urim, yes. He put it back, ashamed. He decided not to consult the stones again. He would make his own decisions. He saw a crystal shop on a hill. No customers. The merchant inside looked defeated. Santiago offered to clean the crystal in exchange for food. As he cleaned, 2 customers came in and bought pieces. The merchant was shocked. He offered Santiago a job. Santiago accepted. He would work until he could buy sheep and return home. He worked for the crystal merchant for 11 months and 9 days. When he arrived, the shop was failing. It was on a steep hill, and crystal was out of fashion. Santiago suggested changes. First, build a display case outside. Sales improved. Second, serve mint tea in crystal glasses to people climbing the hill. The idea exploded. The shop became the most famous in Tangier. The merchant hired 2 assistants. They sold more crystal in 6 months than in the previous 30 years. Santiago learned Arabic. He learned about business. He saved money. He could buy 120 sheep, twice what he had. He could marry the merchant's daughter. But he was changing. He was learning to read the omens of the city, the language of the desert merchants, the soul of the world. One day, the merchant took Santiago to the roof. He pointed east toward Mecca. He said, "I am a devout Muslim. I have fulfilled 4 of the 5 obligations. The 5th is the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. But I will never go." Santiago asked why. The merchant said, "Because Mecca is what keeps me alive. If I go, I will have no more dreams. I am afraid that if my dream is realized, I'll have no reason to go on living." That night, Santiago knew he would not buy sheep. He would not become the merchant. He would not let fear stop him. He told the merchant he was leaving. The merchant blessed him. Santiago joined a caravan crossing the Sahara to Egypt. Part 3: The Desert, the Englishman, the Caravan, the Soul of the World. The caravan was huge, 200 people, 400 animals. It would take months. The leader warned them that the desert is a woman who drives men mad. He also said tribal wars had begun. They must travel with discipline. In an oasis, weapons are forbidden. Oases are neutral ground. Santiago met an Englishman. The Englishman had studied alchemy for 10 years at a university. He carried books about the Emerald Tablet, the Master Work, the Philosopher's Stone, and the Elixir of Life. He was seeking the 200-year-old alchemist who lived at Al-Fayum Oasis. The Englishman believed truth was in books, in codes. Santiago believed it was in the world, in omens. They became friends. The Englishman taught Santiago about alchemy, the stages of the work, the colors, the purification of metals. Santiago taught the Englishman to watch the caravan, the camels, the desert. As they traveled, Santiago began to understand the desert. It was not empty. It spoke. He learned the language of the world, a language without words. The caravan leader told them war had broken out. From now on, they would travel armed. But at Al-Fayum, they must surrender all weapons. Tradition said that oases could not be violated. Part for Al-Fayum, Fatima, the Hawks, the Alchemist. Al-Fayum was an oasis of 50,000 palms and 300 wells. The Englishman went to find the alchemist. Santiago went to a well. There he saw Fatima. She was not veiled. Her black eyes met his, and he knew her name without asking. He knew he loved her. It was love at first sight, the kind that the soul of the world recognizes. They met every day. He told her of his dream, his sheep, the crystal shop. She told him of the desert. "The desert takes our men," she said. "They don't always return. But if they are part of my destiny, they will return." She told him that love never keeps a man from his personal legend. "If I am part of your dream, you'll come back one day." Santiago understood. He loved her, but he had to leave. One day, walking in the desert, Santiago saw 2 hawks. One attacked the other. At that moment, he had a vision, an army entering the oasis with swords. He ran to the tribal chieftains. He told them. The chieftains said tradition required them to heed omens. They would prepare. If no army came, Santiago would die. The next day, 700 warriors attacked. The oasis was ready. The attackers were defeated. The chieftains gave Santiago 50 gold pieces and made him a counselor. That night, a man in black on a white horse, with a falcon, rode into the oasis. He asked for Santiago. It was the alchemist. Part 5, with the alchemist, the wind, the sun, the hand that wrote all. The alchemist said Santiago had passed the first test. Now he must leave Ulfayam and go to the pyramids. Santiago said he wanted to stay with Fatima. The alchemist said, "You must understand that love never keeps a man from pursuing his personal legend. If he abandons that pursuit, it's because it wasn't true love." Santiago said goodbye to Fatima. She kissed him. The dunes are changed by the wind, but the desert never changes. That's the way it will be with our love. They rode into the desert, into the land of war. They were captured by tribesmen. The alchemist gave them Santiago's gold. He told the chief that Santiago was an alchemist who could turn himself into the wind. The chief laughed and gave them 3 days. If Santiago failed, they would die. For 2 days, Santiago spoke to the desert. "Teach me to be the wind." The desert said, "I can give you sand." He spoke to the wind. "Create a sandstorm." The wind said, "I can, but I cannot turn you into me." "Ask the sun." He spoke to the sun. The sun said, "I know love, but I cannot do it." "Speak to the hand that wrote all." On the 3rd day, Santiago prayed without words. He entered the soul of the world. He understood that he, the wind, the desert, the sun, were all one thing. They were made by the same hand. At that moment, the Simum came. A windstorm that erased the sky. When it cleared, Santiago was on the other side of the camp. The tribesmen were terrified. They let them go. Part 6, the monastery, the pyramids, the revelation. They rode to a Coptic monastery. The alchemist took lead, added a chip of the philosopher's stone, and made gold. He divided it in 4, 1 for the monks, 1 for himself, 1 for Santiago, and 1 he buried. "This is not your treasure," he said. "You must go alone now." Santiago rode 3 days to the pyramids. They were not grand. They were sad. He wept. He climbed a dune and dug where his dream told him. He dug all night. He found nothing. Then men came. They beat him and took his gold. To save his life, he told them about his dream. One man laughed. "You fool. 2 years ago I dreamed I should go to Spain, to a ruined church where shepherds sleep. A sycamore grows in the sacristy. If I dug at its roots, I'd find a treasure. I'm not stupid enough to cross a desert for a dream." Then they left. Santiago laughed and cried. He understood. The treasure was in Spain, in the church where he had the dream. But he had to make the journey to become the person who could find it. He returned to Andalusia. Epilogue, the treasure and the beginning. Santiago returned to the ruined church. The sycamore still stood. He dug at its roots. He found a chest of Spanish gold coins, precious stones, golden masks with feathers, and jeweled statues. It was a Moorish treasure. The wind blew. Santiago heard the alchemist. He whispered, "I'm coming, Fatima." He had learned the language of the world. He had learned that when you want something, all the universe conspires to help you. He had learned that the treasure was both in his heart and under his feet all along. He had completed his personal legend. Key ideas of the alchemist. Personal legend, your destiny. Pursuing it is your only real obligation. The soul of the world, the unifying force of all creation. Understanding it is understanding God. Omens, the way the soul of the world speaks. Found in the present moment. Fear, the main obstacle. Fear of suffering is worse than suffering itself. Love, true love does not demand sacrifice of a dream. It supports it. Alchemy, the metaphor for personal transformation. Turning the lead of the ordinary self into the gold of the realized self. Maktub, it is written. Fate exists, but you choose to follow it. The novel ends where it began, but Santiago is not the same boy. The journey was the treasure.